Hey there friends, Jay Paulides, Canada Missing Project. Yes, that is the executive producer of the show, Hawk. And she's in stunned disbelief. She just came in from outside and it's 50 degrees. That's even warm for... She goes, hey Dad, I want it like 30, huh? I want it like 30 degrees. I want it like 30 degrees. Yeah, it's too warm in here for me, Dad. It's too warm, huh? Okay, one more time. Got to get going to the Bigfoot cruise and the Missing 411 cruise all in one. Take a screenshot of that top right there. Look up the cruise. We'll tell you all about it. It's in September this year, leaving out of Seattle. We'll have special fishing expeditions to go on with Joe Hauser, myself, and Chris Bledsoe's going to be there, so he's going to cover the UFO side of it. It is going to be exciting, folks. And there's the poster for it. There's the poster for the new movie that'll be screening March 21st in Tacoma, Washington. So hopefully we'll see you there. Get tickets at missing411.com. And at that missing411.com, you can also get all of my books. Now, thank you for being here. You are greatly appreciated. I'm going to read something to you that I got a little while ago. Dave, longtime fan. Enjoy everything you do. Just a comment. I know it's too late to change some of the wording you're using when it comes to the new movie release. I just watched the YouTube video at your presentation and you're very closely associated with your movie release. He's talking about American Sasquatch that was released 4 months ago. So I don't even know if he realizes it's out there to watch. He says, I'm always confused at the comments saying that there are two groups of Bigfooters. One in the gorilla ape camp and the other in the paranormal camp. This is when you lose me every time. I saw the two BFRO folks that were fired from their duties. I feel for them. All sides should be heard. I think there are way more sides to this story. Certainly I agree with the gorilla ape theory is severely lacking in evidence. But then you personally are leaving out many other flesh and blood theories by jumping to a paranormal Bigfoot. I'm jumping to a paranormal Bigfoot? I've been doing this for 20 years. If you watch the movie, the people that believed wholeheartedly that it was a flesh and blood Bigfoot, every one of those people migrated over to say something else is happening. Watch the movie. I've been having numerous experiences in the mountains of Arizona and one sighting in Utah. All of my experiences have been flesh and blood. Everybody's experience is flesh and blood. What are you talking about? With a very small percentage of paranormal mixed in. I've heard a very long exhale sigh like a horse, followed by a huge deep growl. I've been whistled at, wood knocked, screamed at, and felt infrasound, and been kicked out of the mountains for disrespect by loudly whooping. I've heard of them talking on several occasions. Stop right there. If they're talking, they're not apes and gorillas because they don't have the same diaphragm to talk as a human. I enjoyed a wood knock that was so loud it echoed across the valley. I've been saved from bears on 2 occasions by hearing a loud wood knock. And I heard a human-like whistle. I've had a very long 8-minute session of mimicry and found a few tracks, wood structures, signs, and symbols, and have photographed unusual, perhaps local symbols and signs. I'd very much like to understand the paranormal, but rarely experience it. I think hardly anybody experiences it. That's why you have to listen carefully to the people who have to understand the scenario and how it plays out. I'll be presenting to a conference in August. All persons need to be heard and not summarily dismissed. When we don't know or understand something, we tend to describe it in our own way or rule it out completely. I respect your work greatly and I hope you'll keep an even bigger open mind to the possibility of there being numerous human hybrids, hominids, and various other possible blends out there, I absolutely shook my head thinking, we're the only group in the world who's ever done DNA. And you're telling me to keep an open mind? My head's ready to explode. I'm the one guy that came from one side and migrated all the way over and presented to you all the evidence of everyone who came from that side and migrated over. If you watch the movie, you understand my frustration with this. You can watch the movie on Amazon right now. But people who don't watch the movie and then make claims against me like that burn me up really bad. And then they're allowing this guy to present when he doesn't even want to read or watch the other side and understand it. I told him to watch the movie, come back, and I'll have a conversation with him. I didn't want to attack him. I didn't want to name him. I'm not going to say anymore. Very, very frustrating. All right. Today I'm going to talk about two cases in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, that all revolve around one location. I guarantee nobody has put these two incidents together. And just like somebody said the other day, they said, Dave, you know that everyone out there on YouTube is going to be copying your work you did on Marin County. Well, I know. But I want to know that one case in Marin County I talked about where the young man disappeared at a lake and was later seen in town. Do you know that has almost 40% less views than any other video I've done? Yet that, according to what you guys have said, is the most compelling and wild story I've ever told. How come it has so few views? I don't get it. So, let's get on to these stories. Please go back and watch that story that I'm talking to you about. And just go to Google and YouTube, Can-Am Missing Project. All my videos will show up, and look for the one you haven't watched. And I guarantee it's been shadow banned for some reason. I don't know why. First case I'm going to talk about is the November 12th, 2018 disappearance of a man named Ian Powers. This is Ian. He was a resident of Spokane, Washington, 32 years old. He worked for a company called Hot Start. They manufactured heaters. He was a huge, loyal 49ers fan. He was also a veteran. Ian and his girlfriend, Chelsea Robbins, traveled to California with Chelsea's two other kids to attend the 49ers game versus the Giants on November 12th at Levi Stadium. And that stadium is in Santa Clara. They call it San Jose. Well, they got to a hotel in Concord, California, which is in the north part of the Bay Area. And then Chelsea and the kids and Ian drove down for the game on the 12th. They were having fun. They were sitting in section 226 of the stadium, if you know where that is. Late in the game, 49ers were losing. Ian said that he was going to go to the restaurant and meet up with Chelsea and the kids and then walk to the car. Ian is caught on CCTV walking down the bridge towards the parking lot at the stadium looking at his phone. Now, I watched the footage. He's not staggering. He's not wandering side to side. He's just walking like I would walk, looking at my phone. They made a big deal that he had been drinking at the game. But from what I saw of him walking, he didn't look drunk. Well, 8:15, he goes to the bathroom, goes to the restroom, and Chelsea keeps texting him. Doesn't get him for some reason. Chelsea and the kids go to the car, and they wait a couple of hours for Ian. He doesn't show up. He doesn't respond to texts. Not like him. So Chelsea and the kids find a bus to Concord and get back to the hotel because Ian had the keys to the car. Now the next morning, Chelsea and the kids wake up, still no Ian. He's still not answering texts. And she decides to call law enforcement. And then she gets a hold of family, and they start to gather up at the stadium to start looking for Ian. And that was on the 14th and the 15th. Now, weirdly, and this is, I lived in San Jose for decades. There's a policeman there for 20 years. It's a very, very, very rare day. Very rare. When it is so smoky that the San Jose PD can't put their helicopter in the air. But they couldn't because of fires in the hills. They wanted to look for Ian with the helicopter. They couldn't. But they did bring in canines, searched the area, found nothing. Police, fire, and family searched for several days. They got nothing. They searched the 14th, 15th, 16th, nothing. On November 17th, San Jose police get a call from a fisherman that's coming into the south part of San Francisco Bay into the Alviso Harbor. Alviso is a small harbor of San Francisco Bay on the extreme north end of San Jose. Fisherman's coming in real slow and thinks that he sees a body about a mile out into the bay from Alviso's marina. So they call the police. I already know, police don't have a boat. But the fire department does. So they call the fire department. The fire department brings their boat out. And at the time, San Jose PD didn't have a dive team, so they called for the Santa Clara Sheriff's Office dive team. And then the fisherman takes them out, and they recover the body 1 mile from the marina. The next day, the Santa Clara County Coroner's Office IDs the body as Ian. Family told the coroner that Ian can't swim, but then again, they didn't believe he walked over to the marina and jumped in and took a swim in the bay at 50-degree water. I want you to understand the scenario here. Let me finish this and I'll explain this. Santa Clara police take the case, and a captain named Wahid Kazim stated to the news that it was their belief that Ian entered the Guadalupe River and was washed downstream to the Alviso Marina and out into the bay. It's important. So, he entered Guadalupe River, which is a freshwater river, drowns, and they're saying his body is washed out to the bay. The captain says, quote, "It is not easy to get in that waterway." No kidding, Sherlock. There's huge fences along that river, so nobody can get near that. And the river is in the opposite direction that Ian was going towards his car. Here's Levi's Stadium, where the football game was at, right there. He's last seen over here. Why? Because his car was right there. But, so here's the stadium. Here's the Guadalupe River, on the opposite side of the stadium as where Ian was last seen. They're saying he entered the river, gets washed downstream out into the bay out here, gets washed out here, and his body's found out here. Again, he's last seen on this side of the stadium by the car, and then is claimed he apparently jumped the fence, they think, because he wanted to go for a swim or something, but he didn't know how to swim. Gets in the Guadalupe River and gets washed down into the San Francisco Bay. When I first saw this, I thought, am I going insane? Doesn't anyone have an ounce of common sense anymore? Nobody would climb the fence thinking their car is that direction, because the stadium was that direction. And because Ian knew he didn't climb a fence to get to the stadium with the kids when he left his car. He wasn't drunk. We saw him walking. Now here's the part that really, really blows my mind. And I vaguely paid attention to this, but not as much as I did when I wrote this. They really think you're stupid out there. I mean, I'm serious. They really think you're stupid. So the Santa Clara police captain already stated their theory that he got over those fences, got into the creek, or got into the river, Guadalupe River, and got washed down and was found in the bay. That was their theory, not mine. Key point. The coroner stated that Ian died from salt water drowning. What did they just say? This is the Guadalupe River. This is all fresh water. It dumps into the bay, which is salt water. So either the captain's theory is completely bogus, or the coroner is lying to us. You can't have both, friends. If he died and drowned, as they say here, that would be freshwater drowning. If he died and drowned in the bay, that would be saltwater drowning. Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I could pick up those key points. He would not have survived the trip down the river if he fell in upstream, especially if he can't swim. That's just a fact. Now, this case happened when Ian got separated from his girlfriend and the kids. Point of separation. Phone goes dead. How many cases have I told you about where the phone goes dead and these people disappear? The victim disappears and the canines can't find him and can't find a scent to him. Nobody ever observes the victim going in the water. The coroner doesn't release the date of death, which is important, or how long the person was in the water. Another key point. Now, 5 days from the time Ian disappeared till he was found. Now, if he died just the day before, that'd be pretty suspicious. Where would he have been alive for 4 days? But they don't release that information. If he died in fresh water and was washed down, there's not going to be salt water in his lungs. And for a captain in a police department to make an accusation that he fell in on the river, he had to have some pretty strong clues. I have no idea what they are. He didn't say. I can't find anything anywhere. This whole case stinks to high heaven. How? Also, they never said when his phone went dead or where it was last pinged. But if he's last seen here, near the car, and now the captain's saying that he had to have jumped a fence to get near the river because it's all fenced, why and how did he get from here to here? There's an old saying, that dog don't hunt. Yeah, no kidding. That dog don't hunt. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Frustration doesn't even begin to tell you how mad I get about this stuff. The public really thinks we're idiots. Now, the next case is something I can't understand why nobody's put this together, but that's just me. Next case involves a man named Tommy Simpkins, 44, missing February 8th, 2026. Yeah, recent case. He was originally from Redding, California, Northern California, about 4 hours north of the Bay Area, or from San Jose. He had one son named Tyler, who was 19 years old. And he was employed for the last 7 years as a server at Sundance Steakhouse in Palo Alto. Tommy supposedly lived in San Jose. Now, you're going to see the parallels to these cases starting right now. On February 8th, the Super Bowl was held on a Sunday at Levis Stadium, and Tommy went to a friend's house in San Jose for a Super Bowl party and barbecue. We all did that, right? Not in San Jose, but we all went, did something fun. Well, unfortunately, Seattle beat New England in the Super Bowl. Well, or good for you if you're a Seattle fan. And it was held in Santa Clara. Just prior to leaving the party that Tommy was at, he communicated with his sister, who he did regularly. And she goes, hey, what are you doing after the party? And he says, yeah, I'm going to order up an Uber. It's going to take me home, San Jose. I'm just going to rest up. Sister said, nothing unusual about that. Something that he would do. He was scheduled to work the next day, Monday, February 9th. On that day, Tommy's son, Tyler, went to the Sundance restaurant in Palo Alto to see his dad and was told that he didn't show up for his shift. Well, that was weird because Tommy had worked at that restaurant for 7 years. He was a very reliable employee, very well liked. His son couldn't reach him on the phone, calls his aunt. She couldn't reach him on the phone. Didn't show up for her shift, which was very odd. So because nobody could reach him on his phone and Tyler didn't know where he was at, Brandy and her husband started the drive from Oregon down to San Jose. And Brandy also posted details on Facebook about the disappearance of her brother. Now, originally, because he lived in San Jose police took the missing persons report from Brandy. Got to understand, what do they have? What they haven't said in this case is if they ever interviewed the Uber driver that gave him a ride home. And what the Uber driver said about his personality, attitude, that was never released. Now, fast forward 6 days. Now remember, Ian was missing 5 days. Tommy's missing 6 days. When someone who Brandy, his sister, didn't know, sends her a message via Facebook about some scanner traffic, police scanner traffic, that Santa Clara PD had recovered a body in the San Tomas Aquino Creek near Levis Stadium. What? Yeah, what? Okay, back to this map. So, this is the Guadalupe River where they found Ian. The orange is San Tomas Aquino Creek. Now, the police have not said where along this creek. They just said near Levi Stadium. So I'm going to guess it's pretty close to right there. Pretty close to the last place that old Ian was last seen alive. Now, Ian did go to the stadium. Tommy did not. So they recover a body in the creek. Brandy says she didn't know the lady that left her the message. But later on, the coroner states that they were able to identify the body pretty quickly because there's a large tattoo across the back that says Simpkins. That's a pretty big clue. Tommy had a big tattoo on his back that said Simpkins. Now, there was a very, very interesting article in the Daily Mail that had this about the case. Quote, mysteriously, the area surrounding the creek where Tommy was found was under surveillance during and after the Super Bowl, yet nobody can explain how Simpkins' body ended up in the creek. Now, why was that under surveillance? Because there was high security in that area for the days before and days after the Super Bowl, fearing terrorist activity. So, an easy method to get to that stadium that would have been not on a roadway, which would have been heavily monitored, could have come down the creek, could have come down the river. Those were all heavily monitored. That's why the Mail said that. Now, Brandy says nobody has any idea how her brother got in the creek. Quoting Brandy, I don't believe that my brother just decided to throw himself into a creek. I don't have any answers when it comes down to it, really what happened to him. Yeah, considering his body is in Santa Clara, he didn't drive there. What's he doing there? San Jose police ended up giving this case to Santa Clara PD because the body was found in their jurisdiction. The Santa Clara County medical examiner was a Dr. Michelle Jordan, who stated the autopsy is complete. She wouldn't say if it was suspicious. She said that they're waiting 3 to 4 months for details to come through. And what they're waiting for on that 3 to 4 months, that will show drugs and narcotics in the system. There's also a way to tell for an advanced way if there was drowning involved. Obviously, if there was water in the lungs, she would have said it. She didn't. If there was bullets in the body, would have been easy to say, oh, that's a suspicious death. But there wasn't. If he was strangled, would have had bones broken in his neck. She didn't say that. She really said nothing. She said the exact same thing other coroners do in these cases where they're absolutely stumped. You watch local reports for local consumption, or there's going to be some obvious sign of death that she didn't want to say at the beginning. But right now, there's a lot of huge questions on this case. But up to this point, I'm saying Ian and Tommy's case are super similar. If there was a large amount of water in the lungs, she never said it, but it would have been easy to be said, and it would have been easy to say it was a drowning. Questions. Where did Tommy's phone last ping? And shut off. Nobody said anything about that. Police haven't released anything. What were the last calls and texts he got on that phone? That would be important, right? Somebody's coming over. Hey, I'm going to come over and see you. And then he disappears. Well, there's your person to talk to right there. What were the contents of his stomach? If he died in a very short amount of time from leaving the party he was at, and the people at the party said, oh yeah, we had burgers and steak, and in his stomach is burgers and steaks, then he died in very close proximity to the time leaving that party. If his stomach was empty, it would have been a long time afterwards. And then, what was the date and the time of death? Oh, they could tell that. Oh, yes, they can. But they won't tell us most of the time. Because when they tell us, it brings up more questions than answers, and police don't like being put in that position, so the coroners don't say it. Ian Powers and Tommy were found in bodies of water. Ian, found in San Francisco Bay. Tommy, in Guadalupe Creek. Both happened after a game at Levi's Stadium. Both happened fairly close to Levi's Stadium. In each case, they've never released what was on that body when it was found. What was the clothing on it? Or was there no clothing on it? Ian was found 5 days after going missing. Tommy was found 6 days. Both in the city of Santa Clara / San Jose. Now, I don't know why people haven't put these cases together yet. Brandy would like to know some things about how her brother got into that creek. I think that would be interesting. It would tell us a lot about how he got there. Where was the phone last pinged? Tell us. Did they ever find the phone? I have no idea. Did they find his wallet? I have no idea. So, the first case, Ian's, is for sure a missing 411 case. Tommy's case, till they come back with the cause of death, I'm still up in the air. But it's pushing pretty hard to be just like Ian's. I appreciate you being here. The families on these cases deserve answers. Tommy has a son and a sister that deserve to know what happened to their brother and their dad. I don't believe either one of these guys jumped the fence to get into those bodies of water. And on Ian's case, if he went in Guadalupe River and drowned, that's fresh water, not saltwater drowning. So what's the game they're playing here? I gotta calm down. I gotta start being kind again. Remember, if you can, live stream our movie, March 21st. You can live stream it. That's pretty cool. I mean, you can watch the movie and you can watch all the festivities afterwards. And I'll be interviewing some people and doing some things. It's going to be interesting. So, Go to missing411.com. Just scroll all the way down the page. You'll get to the area where you can watch it. And friends, remember, being kind costs nothing. It's really the centerpiece to our world. If everybody was nice, I think we'd have a lot less issues. In the meantime, spring's around the corner, warmer days to come. Paulides out.